Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this evening's Condo Review Board, dated December 22nd, 2025. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, this meeting of the Condo Review Board will be conducted via remote participation. We will post an audio recording, audio-video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of these proceedings as soon as possible following the meeting on the City of Somerville website and local cable access government channels. Ben, if you can please conduct a roll call vote to ensure we have a quorum.
All right. Chair Zasloff,
Present.
Vice Chair Byrne,
Here.
Board Member Simeon,
Present.
Board Member Solis.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, with the quorum, I would like to call this meeting to order. First item on this evening's agenda is some administrative work that we need to clean up. And first would be reviewing the meeting minutes from the previous meeting in November. So at this time, I will make a motion to open the floor for board discussion. If anyone has any edits or changes to the meeting minutes for November 2025. All right, seeing there are no revisions or edits, motion to close the floor for board discussion, and then motion to conduct a roll call vote to approve the November 2025 meeting minutes.
All right. This is a vote to approve the November 2025 meeting minutes. Chair Zasloff,
Yes.
Vice Chair Byrne,
Yes.
Board Member Simeon,
Yes.
Board Member Solis.
Yes.
The motion passes.
All right, great. Next, under the administrative portion of this evening's agenda is the approval of the 2026 meeting dates and deadlines proposed by the city. Motion to open the floor for board discussion. If anyone has any conflicts or issues with the dates that are proposed, now would be the time to have that discussion.
Yep. I would like to see the December 21st meeting, hopefully the week before as opposed to that. And because I think coming right up close to Christmas is really a difficult time.
Agreed. Is there a way to pull that December 21st meeting ahead one week, maybe?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't think that there's an issue with having sort of an overlap in where we're having a deadline for the December meeting ahead of the November meeting is the only thing I would point to, but I think that would be fine. Does everyone else? Yeah, assuming that sounds, unless anyone else has any other comments, then we can make that
No,
change.
I think, sorry, this is Jennifer. I would love to do that as well. And then sort of less, not as strongly as I feel about that, but that the November meeting is also the Monday before Thanksgiving. So that affects me personally less, but I just don't know because we're having this conversation. Does it make sense to not have, to not have meetings the week of those two holidays, or does that start getting everything wild?
I mean, those are good comments. People tend to travel around those holidays. So if there is any wiggle room, I would be, an advocate for moving that November date up a week if possible.
Sure. Yeah. I will take a look and just make sure that there aren't any other holidays or anything that might
Right.
interfere with deadlines, assuming we made that change. But I think that I can take a look and let you all know, and we can come back to this in next month's meeting.
Okay.
Would it
Perfect.
be possible to combine the November and December meetings? Are we required to have meetings? Are we required to have 12 meetings in the next year?
That's actually a good question. I don't think it's ever been proposed before.
Yeah, that is a great question. I mean, I will note that we had been speaking with And I think what Joe had sort of recommended was if we decide that one of the meetings is going to be problematic, then we could potentially, like in early fall, we could look at canceling the December meeting. And so maybe what could make sense for the time being is just having 12 on the calendar, and then with the acknowledgement that we'll revisit come early fall whether we actually want to hold that December meeting, and then we could sort of stick with our current practice.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. I mean, potentially, um, you could pull the December meeting up, move the November meeting back. We would have 11, and then we would hold the November, December meeting, second week of December and try to capture everything before the end of the year.
Yep. That's what I was thinking too, Zach, was that if we could do an early December meeting that combined the two, that would be perfect.
Okay. Well, why don't I take a look at it and workshop it and see if I can identify a date for November, December, and see if we can get 11 meetings ironed out. Joe, did you have something you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, just wanted to flag, just sorry, one very minor point on this. I think that makes sense to do November. You could do a combined, but I would say just flagging. I think we need to set the date for the January meeting. We won't meet before that, so it may make sense if you want to approve tonight the proposed schedule with a. I think you could phrase it as a potential revision to the November December meeting to be approved at a later date, and I think we can just come back to straighten out that last date, but that way you can set the calendar and make sure you have a meeting on the books for January.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, with no further discussion, motion to close the floor for board discussion regarding the 2026 calendar. And I would like to make a motion to approve the current proposed calendar with the potential to make minor revisions to the back end of the calendar year, potentially combining November, December.
All right, this is a motion to approve the proposed 2026 Condo Review Board meeting dates and deadlines with the acknowledgement that we may come back and revisit some of the dates at a future meeting. Chair Zasloff,
Yes.
Vice Chair Byrne,
Yes.
Board Member Simeon,
Yes.
Board Member Solis.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes.
Great. All right. On to the next item on the agenda, which are new business. And first up will be the applications for final or courtesy permits, with the first application being 17-19 High Street, represented by Attorney Ann Vigorito, and that is the application of Sanjay Dongshi, seeking a final conversion permit for units 1 and 2, both located at 17-19 High Street.
Good evening, Attorney Ann Vigorito. I apologize. I think I'm having problems with my camera, but I will be brief. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. We were before the board back in November of 2024, so the 1 year has surpassed. You do have a master deed. You also have a structural engineer's report. So you would have everything necessary at this time, and I would just respectfully request final conversion permits for units 1 and 2.
Thank you very much, Attorney Vigorito. At this time, I will make a motion to open the floor for board discussion. Any commentary around the final conversion permit for 17-19 High Street from the board? Seeing there is no discussion, motion to close the floor. And I will make a motion to open the public commentary. If anyone in the virtual audience would like to speak in favor or against the final conversion permit for 17-19 High Street, now would be the time to do so.
I see no hands.
All right. Motion to close the public commentary. In reviewing the application, as the representative Attorney Vigorito stated, all outstanding documents have been submitted, and those included the engineer's and architect's report, along with the master deed, and the 1 year waiting period has passed. So that concludes all the outstanding items. And at this time, I am comfortable making a motion for the board to vote on the final conversion permits for units 1 and 2, both located at 17-19 High Street.
Okay, this is a motion to approve a final conversion permit for unit number 1 and number 2 at 17-19 High Street. Chair Zasloff,
Yes.
Vice Chair Byrne,
Yes.
Board Member Simeon,
Yes.
Board Member Solis.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good holiday season and see you in 2026.
Absolutely. Same to you. Thank you, Attorney Vigorito. Next application under the final conversion portion of the agenda is the application of 155 Boston Ave, Somerville LLC. They are represented by Attorney Matthew Spang, and this is Lucas Mendez Garcia, James P. Douglas, Caitlin Merlot, who are seeking a final conversion permits for units 1, 2, and 3, all located at 155, 157 Boston Ave.
Hey everyone, do you got me?
We got you.
All right. Yes, this is my name's Matthew Spang. I'm the attorney representing the 155 Boston Ave Somerville LLC. Tonight we're before the board seeking a final conversion permits for units 1, 2, and 3 at 155, 157 Boston Ave. 3 preliminary non-rental conversion permits were issued back at the July meeting. Since then, the outstanding conditions of a master deed and an engineer's report have been submitted to the board.
All right. And it looks like we also received an additional check to cover that third unit.
Yes. Yeah, just before the meeting, we initially applied for a courtesy permit, and just before the meeting, Marina and I had found out that was some of the existing footprint was being used. So rather than a courtesy permit, it should have just been a non-rental conversion permit for the third that's being added. So you guys were kind enough to grant me the preliminary permit pending the submission of the check, which we sent last month or the month before. But
All
you
right.
have it.
Yep. Great. Thank you very much. At this time, motion to open the floor for board discussion. If any board members have any questions or follow-up for the representative. Seeing there is no questions or discussion amongst the board, motion to close the floor for board discussion and motion to open the floor for public commentary. If anyone in the virtual audience would like to speak in favor or against the final conversion permit in front of the board this evening for units 1, 2, and 3, all located at 155-157 Boston Ave.
I see no hands.
All right. Motion to close the public commentary. Reviewing the application, we were awaiting the master deed and engineer's report. Both items have been submitted, which concludes all the outstanding materials to fulfill the application duties. And we also received the additional check in the amount of $600 to cover the conversion fee. So with that, I will make a motion for the board to vote on the final conversion permits for units 1, 2, and 3, all located at 155-157 Boston Ave.
I'm
This
sorry,
is
Chair
a-
Zasloff. Can I pause you on taking the vote? There is someone in the chat that had a question about 5 minutes ago. I don't know if did they already speak?
I don't see anything in the chat. I didn't get
Sorry, it's in the Q&A section. It says from Freud Carries at 6:13. I'm sorry, can anyone hear me? I have a question.
I'm still not seeing that.
I do see that. Thank you, Jennifer, for pointing that out. I will try to figure out what agenda item the question is in relation to, so that we can take it at the appropriate time.
Okay, sorry for the interruption. I didn't know if it would affect this vote, so, but yeah, go, sorry to interrupt you, Chair Zasloff.
No problem. So on that note, I will recite the motion for the vote, which will be a final conversion permits for units 1, 2, and 3, all located at 155, 157 Boston Ave.
Okay. This is a motion to approve a final conversion permit for unit number 1, number 2, and number 3 at 155-157 Boston Avenue. Chair Zasloff,
Yes.
Vice Chair Byrne,
Yes.
Board Member Simeon,
Yes.
Board Member Solis.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey. Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. This brings us to the next portion of our agenda, which is the preliminary condo conversion permits, with the first item being the application of the Somerville Community Land Trust, LLC, represented by Ben Baldwin, seeking a preliminary rental conversion permits for units 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, all located at 12 Pleasant Avenue.
Hi. Hi, folks. My name is Ben. I'm the executive director at Somerville Community Land Trust, a nonprofit affordable housing developer in Somerville. And I'm here tonight to request a change to my the preliminary conversion permit from the one that was issued in March 2025. I'll give some background. So 12 Pleasant Ave, as a reminder, it's been since March, is a 6-unit historic building purchased by Somerville SCLT Community Land LLC, a subsidiary of Somerville CLT, in 2024, with the intention to retain tenants, convert to affordable condominiums, and sell at affordable prices to the current tenants. When we purchased it in 2024, there was a mix of incomes amongst the tenants there, some at or below 80%, some at or below 110% AMI, and one vacancy. It was occupied. When we applied for the preliminary conversion permit, by that point there was one vacancy, and the preliminary conversion permit was approved in March 2025 this year. But because of the mix of notice and waiting periods due to the mix of incomes, the 110 AMI units, that being 1 and 2, expired in October. So their 1 year waiting period has expired. So I applied at the end of October to I guess ameliorate this with the condo board and with Ben Weiner, knowing that there was a requirement to do something at the end of the waiting period. The eventual intention with this property is that the notice periods will be waived by the tenants when they begin the condo purchase process. But we are not ready yet to begin the renovation and condo purchase process. So I'm seeking to make a change to units 1 and 2 to extend those preliminary waiting period, extend the waiting periods. We do expect renovation to begin in early 2026, so I don't intend to ask for an extension all the way out to what I believe is 2029. And just to give a little bit more background, Unit 2 has actually moved out on his own accord and was paid their relocation payment at the end of October. So there's really only one occupied unit that I'm requesting a change for, that being Unit 1. And I guess I'm here tonight to request an extension of 6 months to the notice period, to give us time to finalize the rest of our renovation scope and prepare the tenants to purchase their unit.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification and background. Very helpful. This time, motion to open the floor for board discussion. If anyone has any questions for the applicant. Just for clarification, we're only looking for an additional notice for 6 months on unit 1, correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Perfect.
To be sorry, to clarify a little further, the unit 2 waiting period has expired and there's nothing else in place. So I'm not sure how this should play out, but that unit, though vacant, does have an expired waiting period.
Okay. I guess to city staff, should we go ahead and extend unit 2 just as a formality? To keep
Yeah,
everything, in line, and that way, in the event something, transpires, Ben doesn't have to come in front of the board to clean this up in 6 months or, less.
right. I think that was our recommendation was we could even just um put the notice periods in alignment with the remaining units that have a notice period that goes through 2029, with the understanding that those notice periods will end upon the sale of the unit to the income eligible buyers. We could then include a note here saying that when the unit is extended for offer, just for the sake of clarification, when the unit is extended an offer is extended to an income eligible buyer for purchase, this notice period will end. And in that way, we have just a single date on the permits. So that was one option I considered, so that we don't have to try to figure out how many months we need to get
That,
the master
yeah,
draft.
that sounds like the right angle
If I
to me.
could comment one more thing, I just am I'm hopeful that we can find a shorter period. It's just the 2029 being so far in the future for these folks. I think I prefer to keep it on the shorter end. It doesn't have to be 6 months, but if we could extend it to a number of months rather than years, that would be my preference.
Well, I guess just a question for city staff. Does it even matter, right? Like,
No. So yeah, the ordinance states that the notice period will end upon sale of the unit to an income restricted buyer. So if these units are being deed restricted, then the sale ends the notice period. So that's the idea, is that we're not actually looking until 2029. We're effectively, the notice
it's
period ends the
aligning
same
the
date.
dates.
Right. So Ben, you don't, once the sales go through, and the notice period ends, you can get final permits. As soon as the sale goes through for a unit, at that point you can get the final permit rather than waiting until 2029 for each unit.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to work in a contingency here where if something doesn't work out, because the relocation payments go up every year, and I prefer to have some kind of a deadline for these folks to work something out rather than extend it out to 2029.
Would Ben, would the sale still would the units still be deed restricted even if the current tenants don't end up purchasing those units?
Yes, all 6 will be deed restricted affordable.
Okay, so I think in that case it would still meet the definition of a sale to an income eligible household as a deed restricted unit, which would effectively end the notice period, even if the current tenants are not the ones who end up purchasing. If it's a future buyer that is also income eligible purchasing the unit, I don't think that there is a distinction in the ordinance.
I believe then, though, that the tenant in place has a right to remain would have a right to remain until 2029, which is kind of my issue, is that's just so far in the future.
Yeah. Joe, do you have any from a legal standpoint?
Yeah, through you, Chair, and some colleagues, this is not one that I was and previously researched, but I think it would be that the tenants currently in place would have a option to stay for their applicable notice period. So if that tenant is entitled to the enhanced protections, they have the option, right? They have the ability to remain in the unit for their applicable notice period. They may also purchase their unit, which would then end their notice period. But I do think it sounds like we're talking about something that might be, I don't think that would be permitted to say that you could lessen the prescribed notice period. I think that that's really kind of that the option, and I can certainly appreciate, on the owner side wanting to have more flexibility there, but I think the ordinance contemplates that option remains with the tenant. So the tenant, if they want so choose to stay for their full notice period, they can do that, but then have to vacate at the end of the 5-year period. So is that helpful clarification? So I think, right, we're talking.
I guess the only question I have for the representative, Mr. Baldwin, would be, these are income restricted current tenants, correctly?
No, the current tenants are not under any income restriction. They do
Okay.
have an income. The units 1 and 2 were not awarded the enhanced protections, which is why their notice period has expired. The other 3 units, 3, 4, and 5, have the enhanced protections.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure we weren't displacing somebody to then replace, right? I just wanted to clarify that we, weren't going to push someone out in 6 months that was income restricted to then sell it to someone that, qualifies, because that would go against sort of the whole purpose of the initiative here. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. Any further questions for the applicant from the board? All right. Motion to close the floor for board discussion and motion to open the floor for public commentary. If anyone in the virtual audience would like to speak in favor or against extending the notice on Unit 1 by 6 months.
I see no hands.
All right. Motion to close the public commentary at this time. I guess I do have a question for Ben, Joe, because this is a unique situation that I haven't encountered before. This is really a formality. Does this need to be conditioned? How should we state the motion to vote?
My inclination, Joe, feel free to correct me if you have a different understanding, would be stating it as an amendment to the permit.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and just as you stipulated.
On that note, I would like to make a motion to vote on an amendment to the application for 12 Pleasant Avenue. And that would be to extend the notice by 6 months for Unit 1.
Okay. This is a motion to extend the notice period for Unit 1 at 12 Pleasant Avenue. Chair Zasloff,
Yes.
Vice Chair Byrne,
Yes.
Board Member Simeon,
Yes.
Board Member Solis.
Yes.
The motion passes.
All right. Have a great holiday. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays.
You too. Moving along, under the preliminary conversion permits, we have 81 Wheatland Street, and that is the application of 81 Wheatland LLC, Robert Egan, who is seeking a preliminary rental conversion permit for units 1, 2, and 3, all located at 81 Wheatland Street. And I believe it's represented by Attorney Shan.
Yes, thank you. Let's get the video. Mark Sheen of Adam Dash and Associates, attorney for 81 Wheatland LLC of 81 Wheatland Street, Somerville, Mass. My client is seeking a preliminary rental conversion permit for units 1, 2, and 3 of this multifamily residence. My client purchased the property vacant, and it has remained that way since the closing date. We have submitted to the board the complete application, paid final water bill, certificate of good standing, a current deed, and a bank check payable to the city of Somerville. A little bit of background on this application. I did speak to some of the former tenants, and it became pretty clear to me that they all had negative experiences with the former landlord and former owner of the property. They informed me that he did not answer any of their messages after the property was destroyed by a fire. I want to emphasize that these negative experiences happened prior to my client purchasing the property, and my client had absolutely zero involvement with these conversations. So while I can certainly sympathize with the former tenants, I just wanted to make it, very clear that he had no dealings with them, and he should not be penalized for the former owner's actions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. On that note, motion to open the floor for board discussions. Discussion questions for the applicant. Board member Solwitz, floor is yours.
So we do see this sometimes when there's the former, owner has, tenants are upset with the former owner. And it sort of is a request to not let that reflect negatively on the purchaser, the new buyer who's, converting. It is helpful for us to get a timeline. So, do you know, I mean, I think there's someone to speak on this. I think there are some tenants here possibly, but do you know the timeline of the fire and the sale and the purchase, like just so we can get a little more context to make sure, that your client wasn't sort of part of the problem, if there is a problem, which I don't know that there is, but.
Absolutely, yeah. So the fire occurred in July of this year, and then rather than restore the premises, the former owner made the decision that he's just going to sell the building. So he listed the property after there was a fire, after it was completely damaged, and while there were no tenants in the property. So there was no purchase and sale agreement entered into while there were tenants in the property. This happened after the property was completely vacant. And again, he didn't want to go forward. The former owner didn't want to go forward with restoring the property. So that fire happened in July, and then my client purchased the property in November.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, attorney. Any other questions for the representative? Board member Simeon, did you have a question?
Yes, what I'm thinking about, like before the fire, and where are those people? I mean, after the fire, because the fire they move because of the fire. That's the reason they move. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. The property is not, it's uninhabitable right now. So they had to evacuate the property. And from what we were told, but there wasn't confirmation on this, the former owner might have, he got an insurance payout because the property was insured, of course. And we were told that he might have provided relocation expenses, but again, there's no confirmation on that. But we provided all the information where the tenants, the former tenants, are located right now.
Yeah.
Well, is that uh the I mean the new owner, and he never find out if some kind of money pay off to those guys because of the fire before he buy the house.
Yeah, that's not an issue that's really contemplated, and unfortunately, when you're purchasing a property, it's not something that would be in the purchase and sale agreement. or anything like that. It's expected that the former owner would take care of their tenants and make sure that they had accommodations and situate them properly. But again, my client, he did not have any lease with these former tenants. He had no dealing with these former tenants. That relationship was all with the former owner and these former tenants.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Board
Alex, I
member,
don't want to cut you off, but I do think if we need to reopen after public commentary for board commentary, maybe we can. But
Yeah,
I think we might have.
that
I
makes
think we
sense.
might be getting some insight in a bit.
Okay,
Yeah, I
that
think.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
okay. All right, with no further questions from the board, motion to close the floor for board discussion and motion to open the floor for public commentary. Sounds like we may have some folks in the audience who'd like to speak on this matter.
I believe we have 2 attendees that I will promote. Freud, I believe that this is the item that you wanted to speak on. Freud carries. So I have promoted you to panelist. I'm asking you to unmute.
Okay.
If you have, yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Again, my name is Fred Carey. I'm a former tenant. The landlord, my previous landlord, I don't know, it didn't have any problem with him. I think it's a great guy. Um, just after the fire, and he was shocked like everybody else. And the problem is that since the fire, no one never say anything to us. I get some emails from the new owner. And a few days ago, I was trying to talk to, I don't know exactly the person, but I get some, exchange a few words. And there was nothing concrete from um, neither the owner and the previous one. And there's so many of us who lost very important things. And and to this moment, there's not a single word from anybody. Just we are lost and don't know what to do. We learned that the house was sold online, and and we all lost very very valuable things. And from now, I don't know where or who to talk to, because I mean it's a tragedy and it affects all of us. And I think somebody have to say something at least. And that's the most I think that should be done. And the new owner should understand that you see the house with, you know, so many people. I think there was 17 people live in the house and who lost, everything. And you decided to go forward, purchase the house with everything and with no questions. And you know the situation, you know what happened, you know the cause of all the people to leave the house. And I tried to send messages to the my previous owner, said if we can go back to the house, at least try to see if we can get something, like anything that was not burned or damaged, but there was no answer to no to our questions. So I think the new owner should know that, when you purchase the house, you see what was in the house and at least give us a chance to come and collect whatever's left. I mean, if you choose to go forward and buy the whole property with everything in it, I'm sure there should be people asking those questions. And I'm hoping there will be something done in that matter.
Okay, Freud, question. I mean, the the previous owner who owned the building when you resided in it, when the unfortunate circumstance took place with the fire, um, did you reach out? So the fire happened in July. The house wasn't sold in November. Um, there's what is that? Three months or so, 3 to 4 months, um, where the property was in limbo, I get, per se. Was there any outreach to the former owners asking to be able to, come back and try to obtain your belongings or anything that wasn't perished in the fire?
We did, but I think he responded to some of the tenants, and they said he said that was not in his control, so maybe they need to contact the city or the people who was on charge of the investigation and all that. So he wasn't really give a clear answer, or he said that was not in his control to give us permission to go back into the house.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the nuances around fires and stuff, but I gotta assume once a building is deemed inhabitable or dangerous, he, as the land, even as he owns the property, I'm not sure he would have been allowed to have allowed you back into that house, due to, all kinds of liabilities around it. Somebody, a staircase collapsing as somebody goes inside or anything of that nature. I think city ordinances, the building becomes condemned, and I don't think anyone's allowed on the property. I could be wrong. Um,
Yeah, that was understandable, and that's when the new owner should take, you know, think about that part too, because you purchase a house that was, you know, people were living in it, and all the stuff are left behind. Some of that stuff are not, completely destroyed, and I think those are the things the new owner should think of, and make the decision wisely, because he's still able to contact us because he knew he need to reach out to us, but just to let us know that he have nothing to do with us. It's just I don't think that's acceptable.
yep, understandable, and I thank you for your testimony tonight. Ben, do we have another former tenant to
Yes,
hear from?
we do. Thank you, Freud. I'm going to return you to an attendee. If there's anything else that you wish to share, you'll need to raise your hand. Moment. Okay. Albert, I have just promoted you to panelist as well.
Hello,
We can hear you.
can you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, hello, everybody. So Frey is my roommate. He live in front of my room, so we know each other. I know him. I agree with him in some of the things that he saw. And yes, the big problem that we have, or in my case that I have, is that since that time, when the fire occurred, we are not able to go to the house to take our belongings. So, I know that my room is totally destroyed, almost, but I saw that day that I have something that I can take. I lost everything, and since that day, nobody helped us. So, it's very complicated. I already did it. I started again, my life, I want to pass that page in my case, but I have some memory there that I would like to take. And about Freud said that the former owner, he's a good guy. I don't agree. He's not responsible. I was living in this place since 2022, and it was a nice building, but with the time, the last 2 years, was a lot of people living in the same place. I talked with him. The place was very close to my job. This is one of the reasons I didn't want it to find another place. But every time I spoke with him, okay, you have a lot of people here. So normally this is not like, you have to rent the house, but one person per room. But so normally he have two. And this is the reason that we have in this building, we have around 17 people. It's crazy. I was in the second unit, and I was living there. Normally we have 4 rooms. Normally it's for 4 people, but we have there 8 people living there. It was crazy. And when the fire occurred, was around 17 people living in that building. So, I have all the mess. I have all the chats with him. I say, okay, it's a lot of people here. It's a lot of people here. It's a lot of people here. And this is one of the reasons the fire happened. So, I think he's very responsible about that. So but also from the fire was, can you understand me? Sorry for my English, it's not perfect, okay?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly fine.
Okay, thank you. So the fire was July 6th, was a Sunday, I think. So since that day until now, he never replied any of my message, any of my. So I heard like somebody told me, some friend, he's a lawyer, he told me normally, I don't know if it is Somerville City of the owner, he have to give us some money to start again. So nothing happened. So we don't know what to do. So, I have my saving, I started again. I did it, but imagine the other people. So,
No, it's tragic.
yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, yes, I just wanted to say that to you guys, and in somehow the only help that I want is like to go there to take my thing. I want to forget about this place, but I want to go there and to take my thing. Thank you.
Okay. Ben, is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak while the public commentary is open?
I don't see any further questions or hands raised.
Okay. I will make a motion to close the public commentary period, but I would like to make a motion to open the floor for board discussion. If Vice Chair Byrne has any commentary.
Boy, do I feel like this was probably an illegal
Rooming house.
rooming house, and people were taken advantage of, and Board of Health and Inspectional Services should have been all over this. And so the city has really failed these people.
I agree. I mean, we're trying to lay blame at a new owner
Yeah,
that
no, it's the city's
inherited a
fault.
mess, but I lay blame directly at the feet of the city administration. Like,
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is,
it's appalling to hear.
yeah,
I mean, 17 people living in a three-room,
it's
uh,
horrible.
a three-unit building is like unsafe to say the least. We're lucky this wasn't a tragic,
Nobody died. Yeah,
yeah, that
yeah.
people didn't perish in this fire.
So I think it's, I think it's our responsibility to make some kind of, I don't know what, for these folks, because I mean, as they've said, those two gentlemen were very articulate about they lost everything. And
Absolutely.
this was a terrible, terrible situation. Okay.
Yeah. I
Else,
mean, the predicament I see that we're in is by the guidelines of the ordinance, the current owner who's in front of us had nothing to do with it, and we're now trying to lay blame. We're trying to pass the blame to somebody who had nothing to do with it, while the former owner should have been culpable, fined, potentially charged. And then the city, like, where were they? And I'll put it on record. I know I'm a city employee, but where was the city in this? It's not fair that we're faced with this when it's out of our realm to try to rectify this and make good for the city's failure to the extreme circumstance. It's truly not fair that this board has to be faced with this decision. Board Member Solis?
So yes, I agree with what everybody's saying. And I just wanted to point out, I think not to enrage anyone further, or maybe not that anyone's enraged, but I just pulled up the listing for the house on Zillow, and I mean, in the listing photos, which are all post fire, you can clearly see belongings that are intact that could have been I'm not saying I'm a fire safety officer, but I mean, maybe they were smoke damage and I can't see it. But if I was living there and saw those photos of my home for sale to someone, and my bedroom was there, and there were sheets and there were blankets and there were clothes and there were things that looked, not burnt, I would be devastated that I wasn't allowed back in to try to recoup anything um, of my life. So I just want to say to, um, the two tenants that when something like this happens, even though it's technically outside of the condo ordinances purview, like we are sympathizing with you, and we are feeling the emotions of anger that you weren't treated better when this happened. It's also not lost on me, and I hope it's not inappropriate to say, but the world is full of racism. I'm white, I have my white privilege, but it is not lost on me that the two people speaking may be members of the BIPOC community, and we've got a history of that everywhere in this lovely state of people being not given their rights or afforded their rights and taken advantage of, especially when they have an accent or have brown skin as opposed to white skin. And I can't help but state for the record that I think this is part of the problem that we face. My question is, and so to the tenant speaking, when it comes before us, we have to look at what the new buyer, if they like sort of are held to letting former tenants know who live there within a certain window of time about the condo conversion. And I guess I would say to my peers on the board that I know that it is that our job is not to like pass the blame, that we have to stay within the purview of the condo ordinance. But I do want to say, just for the record, that I do find it, Attorney Sheehan, I know you're doing your job, but, it is illogical to me that someone would buy a house that was burned less than 4 months ago and not wonder about what happened and not ask questions and not try to do something. It's not their legal requirement, but, it's like, oh, bonanza, a burnt up home, let me get it and convert it. It's kind of gross, in my opinion, especially when the listing photos are just like showing people's belongings. I would be curious as a buyer, and I would do my due diligence that I wasn't getting into a hornet's nest morally, even if I wasn't getting to a hornet's nest legally. But I do think that even though we, may not be able to hold the current buyer to anything, I do think that this board has set precedent before where we had water damage in a unit that we have, I believe, and someone can look into this, I believe we have paused a decision and requested that the new buyer seriously consider some financial compensation to the tenants that were displaced. I don't have that address off the top of my head, but I do think that in the past that was done, and it did result in some compensation. So that's point A. Point B is, I think that it really angers me that the city has put this, that it comes to our doorstep, that these two people are like, oh, we have a voice here at this meeting, no one else will listen to us. They should have been listened to a long time ago. So I guess my question to my peers is, when, and I don't know if this is the right place to say it, but like, could we table for now, but like put an action in the future to have sort of some action plan for when something like this is brought to us, like what our go-to is, like, can we connect them with someone in the city whose purview this is actually, like, can we, I don't know that we know who that is, but is there some legal resource that we can refer people to that they will get a call back and that kind of thing? So
I mean,
those are my, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, board member Saul's all valid points, and the city, claims to walk the walk on being the forefront leader in progressivism, but it really appears to be all talk and not action because they have those services, and those services aren't doing their job, obviously. And this is abhorrent to sit here and listen to 3 days before Christmas. And you know what? I mean, shame on the city. Shame on the city and the city administration, the current administration that's there now. And I'm not afraid to put it on record. I mean, this is appalling. Board Member Simeon.
Yes, only one thing, I understand that we try to push it on the city. Yes, but another things I'm just really about, and then I can ask myself if the new owner had a chance to visit the place before the purchase. If so, did he find something at least he can question the previous owner?
I mean, the thing about a fire when a building is condemned like that, everything is assumed to be biohazard, right? So we're getting into like even if the current owner wanted to allow those individuals in the house, his
Mhm.
legal representatives would tell him you cannot do that by law.
Okay. Hmm. Okay.
Vice Chair Byrne, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with Board Member Solis on so many of her points, and I'm really grateful for you bringing up all of that. I really am grateful. I wonder if what would make most sense is for us to table this item and to ask our legal person, our lawyer here, to look into this to see what other options are available and what things we should be looking at. And again, I agree that it is not in our purview to take responsibility for this, but it's actually, it actually is responsibility of the city. It's the responsibility of ISD and health to be dealing with this. And I think we have one we are lucky we have an advantage that we have tenants who came to us and told us the story, and that our responsibility in that is to make sure that that story gets heard in the city, and that there's some other relief for these tenants. So that would be my suggestion, is that we table it and we ask our wonderful lawyer to look into what else we can do.
Yep. I think I'm fine with that. I would just like to ask the tenants if we have those individuals still available, the former tenants. I do have just an inquisitive inquiry on whether the city councilor for Ward 4 reached out to them and had any interaction post fire.
I'm re-promoting them as panelists.
I'd like
If
to
we
hear
could,
their side with their interaction with the city of Somerville.
yes.
And
So
yeah.
sorry, Zach. Yeah. Freud, if you are able to, if you're still here, I promoted you. It looks like you're still here. If you wouldn't mind responding first, and then Albert, if we could just go one at a time. Albert, I will unmute you after.
Okay, okay. Sorry.
Freud?
Yes, I'm here.
So post fire, what was the interaction with the city of Somerville, any of its elected leaders, the city councilor in your ward, the mayor, any city services? Was there any outreach, or did they just pass the buck to Red Cross?
Actually, everything was pretty much to Red Cross, but some of the city official took our numbers, but never really reached out to us. And then I think me and a couple friends, we went to City Hall, and they just give us numbers to call, and we call them, and we never get an answer. And at the end, they have a meeting for us, and I think at the school, And then we went there. They processed some kit and some stuff, and just to because we didn't have anything left, and we were just with the clothes we were on, and then that's about it. And they gave us a credit card. The first one was I think $300, and another one $500, and that's basically it. And they do give us some hotels for a couple weeks, and some of us wasn't able to find a place, and they provide us with some extended days at the hotel, and then pay first and last, and for a new place, and that's about it. We didn't have contact with nobody else after that because they just sent us an email, said okay, that's all we're gonna do for now, and good luck, you know. But the thing is, like my room, especially if they could just give us a chance to go back and just I mean, I understand, we were not allowed, but the situation with the new owner is just like, I mean, I'm sure he took a tour of the house before purchase it, and I'm sure he can see, like, I have a video actually of my room after the fire and before the fire. So after the fire, I have the video and so many things I could just get, but they will not allow me to. And ever since, I only have one pair of shoes. It's just like I wasn't able to go buy a new pair of shoes and everything because you have to still making payments for insurance and pay your room right now, and it's still going. But they just did the basic, just give us I think for a couple days or 3 days, they were schedule food for us, and some of us came, not all of us, and get a meal, and we on our own. And there's some story that some of our tenants were really telling. We have a group chat where we were and talking to each other and just see who we can call, who we can reach out to for help. But it looks like there was nobody available because, you know, we don't know. And one of us went to the town hall many times, tried to talk to somebody, no answer. And there's one of the guy who lost his mother, and he only has a few picture of of his mother, and he just begging whoever he can talk to let him get at least that picture of her mother. That's the only thing remain of her, and he's just still was not allowed to get that picture of her mother, which is kind of sad. And I mean, I wish all of them were here. I mean, you will hear the story. It's just there was nobody really reach out to us because and that day I do get some numbers, and when you call, it just they never answered, and you don't get no response. You know, it's
No, that's unfortunate to hear, and it's very sad. And it just I've lived in the city 25 plus years, and um, the city's done a lot of good things, but when you really start to peel the layers back, it's a lot of talking points that resonate with people, but actionable items. I think the city's failing. I think it's this is a testament to, talk is cheap. Action is um where
Cheers.
accountability starts.
Cheers, Asloff. If I could, I mean, first I wanted to note that Attorney Sheehan has raised his hand, and I know that we've heard from tenants a few times now, and I know you former tenants. I know you do still want to pose the same question to um, the other tenant in attendance. I would just say, I think if we're sort of getting into a larger conversation of how the board can, the board understanding what the city is doing to protect tenants in, of properties where there are fires and are being displaced, and how the city is engaged with those tenants. I
Yeah,
on a larger scale,
understood.
I don't know if that's necessarily, again, I think you mentioned it, in the purview of the board. And so just when we're discussing this application, I'm wondering if maybe there's an opportunity for staff to do some of the legwork, looking into what the city's response was for these households that were displaced, and providing some information. We can look at, what if there was any indication to inspectional services before the fire, if there what was done for
Yeah,
the
I think,
tenants
yeah,
while they
I'd
were
like
at.
to make a recommendation to the city staff to present a staff report outlining any sort of um, ISD calls or any prior to the fire, going back at least 12 months prior to the fire. Any reports of a rooming house, any sort of trash buildup. I mean, 17 people living in a three-unit building. The trash must have been, you know, hard to maintain. I know with a family of four, I fill up two trash cans every week, so I can only imagine what 17 folks with six trash cans can accumulate. So I would like to see a staff report outlining sort of any sort of notice that the city was aware of prior to the July fire, and then sort of what the actionable items post-fire um, were by the city, and that current landlord, or not the current landlord, the previous owner of the property, does he have a history of being fined for running rooming houses or any sort of unfair living conditions? And is he a current property owner still in the city of Somerville? And I'd like his name as part of the record. I mean, it's public knowledge, so it shouldn't be a problem to get the city to name him.
Okay, great. Um, that being said, it yeah, do you mind if we let Attorney Sheehan just quickly
Yeah, no,
respond?
Albert, I think Freud covered the situation, very thoroughly. Again, speaking for the board, we are saddened and to hear of the circumstances around the previous living condition, the fire, the post-fire response, and we do sympathize deeply with you guys and all the other 15 tenants that were displaced. It's really sad to hear the firsthand account, but um, I appreciate you taking out the time in your busy schedules to come and testify in front of the board. I think it's an eye opener. Had we not heard from you, this, we wouldn't be privy to a situation like the one that unfolded. So again, on behalf of the board, I thank you for your courage coming in front of the board tonight and sharing your lived experience, as
Thank
unfortunate as to hear.
I want to thank you guys because you probably the only, people who at least kind enough to hear us because nobody else were there to listen to our story, even though they can see it, but it looks like they really didn't care. But at least we know now that's some kind of news I will share with the group and I thank you so much because just listening to us, it's mean a lot for us because there's nobody were doing that. Thank you.
Yeah. If you can share your contact info with Ben, that'd be great.
Okay, no problem. I will.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you.
I would like to say thank you as well. I think Frey, he say everything I wanted to say as well. And yeah, any help from you, I think we will be very, very happy. It's the first time we are talking with somebody able to listening, Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Ben, if you can just share their phone number, contact info with me privately after the meeting.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. At this time, I will make a motion to close the public commentary and open up the floor for Attorney Spang. I know he was waiting patiently.
Attorney Sheehan.
Or I'm sorry, Attorney Sheen. Sorry.
Yes, no problem. So one comment that was mentioned a couple times that I just want to clarify. The current owner of the property was not able to see the property prior to signing the purchase and sale agreement. So the former owner did not let them come in, do a walkthrough, visit the property. They made them sign the purchase and sale agreement before any of that was allowed. I know that was mentioned a couple of times. And then the second point that I would make is just that I can certainly sympathize with the former tenants as well. I heard of the conditions in that property with the former owner, and I was shocked by how many violations that there were. And I do understand the board's position, and I know Chair Zaslav mentioned that, just based on the ordinance and acting within the constraints of the ordinance, the current owner. He did not do anything negative to those former tenants. He had, no dealings with them. He just purchased a property that was vacant, and he certainly can understand, the frustration that everyone has with how the former owner acted as well. But they did not have any negative dealings with these. The other thing that was mentioned was the items in the property. And again, Chair Zassoff mentioned there was nothing salvageable because of the various issues. There was fire, there was smoke, there was water damage to everything, chemicals in the property. There was nothing that could be salvaged, whether or not it looked like it could. The property, everything in there was completely destroyed. So that was another thing that I wanted to mention there.
Thank you. Board Member Solis?
Yeah, again, I don't, I'm not a firewoman. But I guess what I want to say is I think that we need to look at, and I know you're saying you're sympathetic, Attorney Sheehan, but the listing that's still on the internet says group showings only. You can come, you can see it. You just have to sign a waiver. So, it just doesn't look good, is what I'm saying. The optics really are pretty bad. And I know what people are saying, there's things that aren't salvageable, but um, uh, I guess, we just sort of have to follow the condo ordinance, even if we feel like someone is making a buck on a tragic situation. We're not here to use the ordinance to punish someone who's making money on on someone else's, whatever. But I guess my question to the group just about the part that we do have to look at, which is, within the purview of the ordinance, I guess what I do find challenge with is if tenants are displaced and not allowed back in and not had any contact with the owner despite them reaching out multiple times, it sort of lets the owner, the original owner, not Attorney Sheehan's client, it lets the owner like he could have set intention to condoize like all different ways, but no one would know because no one's in the property. No one's, you know what I mean? He could have had, like if
No.
if the tenants were living there and they sent over a developer who went in and was like, okay, this will be unit 1, this will be unit 2, and they were there, it would be like, oh, well, he's making condos. That's, and set intention is not the word that I'm looking for in the ordinance. I'm just stressed. I don't, but, so it does sort of hit me with when we get a situation like this, when there's been like no contact and they're displaced. So they haven't been in the property. Like they don't really get the chance to say like, oh, well, X, Y, and Z happened. And that sort of set the ordinance into play. Like that's when intention, attorneys, Chair Zaslav, what phrase am I looking for? Not
Well,
intent.
I don't know if I have the correct word you're looking for, but I do wonder, and again, this is probably a bigger discussion for another day, but we continually look at ways to revise the ordinance to, provide better protection for tenants. And there really needs to be, some sort of verbiage in the ordinance around a fire and because at the end of the day, the current owner of that property ends up winning. He gets an insurance payout and he gets to sell the property sight unseen.
For a million
Like
bucks. Just
he
FYI.
gets a double whammy. And then, you know, the poor guy who buys it gets traipsed in front of us and we hammer them and try to get retribution out of somebody who had zero accountability to this. And I honestly think like there should be I don't, know the legality around it or even if it's viable, but I think there needs to be some sort of verbiage in the ordinance that if a fire takes place and tenants are displaced, that the current owner has to have some sort of accountability to providing, you know, relocation fees.
Yeah. Yes.
Before, even if it's at the sit when he sells the property and then passes the deed, at that point, he's liquid. He can then retro pay the tenants. Like there has to be, because again, like they get out scot-free and then, the poor individual who buys the property gets, dragged through the mud. And it's really not this individual's, it's not the responsibility of somebody who buys a property 6 months later. It's a responsibility of the former owner for 6 months not doing the right thing and sitting on that property waiting for the insurance payout and then to liquidate with a sale with, sight unseen, which as we know in Somerville,
It's,
like it doesn't matter whether the house is burned to the ground or not. It's the property. It's the lot size that they're looking for, right?
Sorry, Vice Chair Byrne. I just wanted to once again say that, it may be that we need to continue this piece of the discussion also at a future board meeting once we have some additional information on the city's response. And maybe part of the discussion we can also have is if the board would like to consider a change to the ordinance that they would like to begin working on. But I don't know if this is
Yeah,
the
I mean,
time
this
to
it probably
discuss.
isn't the form. I would like to just give Vice Chair Byrne 15 to 30 seconds to make her point. But again, one thing before I pass the floor to Vice Chair Byrne, I will say this is probably the fourth or fifth instance of a displacement due to fire in where we've had no ability to help the individuals. And it's very contentious when it comes in front of the board because we all want to do what's right, but within the legal framework of the ordinance and our jurisdiction on this board, we have no means to do anything. Um, so I would like to take this topic up, and I think it should be considered. And I think we should, I encourage all the board members to write your counselors because I'm not sure that they've thought of this angle before, but we're seeing it firsthand, at least in the last 18 months. I can think of at least three or four right off the top of my head.
yep, yep. I
So,
just,
Vice Chair Byrne, 30 seconds,
thank
and
you. Thank you. I'll try to make it quick. I just want to say that I disagree with you on the case that the current owner is completely innocent. I think if you go and you buy something sight unseen, that there is some level where you are responsible. And I think I do not go buy something sight unseen. And to say that that's okay, I know that on some level it's supposed to be okay, but there's some level where for me it's like this moral issue that there was a fire here, that people lost their homes, and to just say, oh well, and okay, great, I get to buy this. I mean, where is this person living? That they can't come to Somerville and buy, can't come to Somerville and look at it. That's all. I mean, I know that this is taking it off to a different place, but that's
no, that's fair. It's very fair. So, all right. On that note, motion to close the floor for further board discussion. I see Attorney Dio has his hand up. I was hoping to be able to move to a motion to vote to table this for this evening. But I would like to hear from you on a little guidance on how we should approach this.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And through you, that was actually the point that I think I wanted to clarify on. So the ordinance does permit the board after the closing of a hearing. You can continue it, but it sounds like our deliberations have concluded this evening, and you have to render a decision within 60 days of the closing of the hearing. So I think that if that is the will of the board to um, deem the hearing closed, have some follow-up information, you could then take up the the formal decision at a later date. And
Yeah.
I don't have to belabor. I think you understand. We can certainly provide informational reports to the board, but I think you understand kind of what is the jurisdiction of the board versus larger city services. So I think so there was a comment a little bit earlier about researching legal alternatives. Happy to do so, and we'll continue to think creatively about this issue. But I think it has been recognized some of the jurisdictional struggles that the condo board finds itself in with relation to these issues.
Thank you very much for clarification. So I would just propose one question to the board. Again, with that clarification, we do have boundaries within the board. I think we have two options here. We can stay within the boundaries, vote on what's in our control this evening, and or we could vote to table it. We get a report in 30 days, but it's not going to change the ultimate vote in the jurisdiction of what we're tasked to do as the board. And then again, we have to get to that point within the next meeting or two at the latest. So
I personally don't think tabling does anything.
I don't either. Just it adds it back to the agenda for another evening, with the same outcome. I would like to see a staff report on sort of the response in this instance, though, regardless of how we take this vote tonight, because I think that would be good background to have for us to discuss at a future meeting, and or with our representatives on how we can further enhance the protections in the ordinance. And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway we need to look at here to the board is, let's use this as a learning experience and see if we can further enhance the protections for tenants going forward. I mean, we can't change the past, but we can affect the future.
Cheers, Lastloff. I just had one very minor note, which is that I believe we were in public commentary. So I believe that that's just what we need to close.
Okay. All right. On that note, motion to close the public commentary, motion to close board discussion, and motion for the board to vote on the preliminary rental conversion permits for units 1, 2, and 3, all located at 81 Wheatland Street, on the condition that a master deed and engineer's report is submitted to city staff at a future date.
Okay, this is a vote to approve a preliminary rental conversion permit for unit number 1, number 2, and number 3 at 81 Wheatland Street, conditioned on the master deed and property condition report to be submitted at a future date. Chair Zasloff,
Yes.
Vice Chair Byrne,
I'm gonna abstain.
Board Member Simeon,
Yes.
Board Member Solis,
Yes.
I apologize. So we do not have a majority in that case.
We have
Yes,
3 to
yes,
1.
We do.
We have
do
3
a
to 1.
majority. Okay,
Yep,
thank
you
you.
do.
We do have a majority. The motion passes.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for the courage of the two tenants, former tenants, to come in front of the board tonight and advocate for what's right in this world. Thank you. All right, moving along. Next application under the preliminary condo conversion permits is the application of Yi Zhao, seeking a preliminary non-rental conversion permit for units 1, 2, and 3 located at 373 Medford Street. And I believe Attorney Sheehan is the representative for this one also.
Yes, thank you. Mark Sheen of Adam Dash and Associates, attorney for Zayu Zhu of 373 Medford Street. My client is seeking preliminary non-rental conversion permits for units 1, 2, and 3 of this multifamily residence. The property was owner occupied prior to my client purchasing it, and the property has remained vacant since the closing date in October of 2025. We have submitted the application along with a paid final water bill, certificate of good standing, owner occupancy affidavit from the prior owner, residential exemption, and a bank check payable to the city of Somerville. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. At this time, motion to open the floor for board discussion in regards to 373 Medford Street.
Attorney Sheehan, I know you said it's owner occupied, but when it's a multi-unit, it was 3 units, so it was all 3 units were, just, do we have confirmation of which unit the seller lived in, or it just makes us it just begs the question again, not to drag you through what I unfortunately did last time, which not all was correct. I'm just the process has some holes in it. So I'm sorry. But so when I hear there's 3 units in the home and you or another attorney comes forward and says it was owner occupied, it was vacant when we got it, it's just always like, well, the person didn't live in all 3 units, right? So, or did they, like sort of how do we know that there weren't tenants there?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, does it seem weird to anyone else? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't.
So, the former owner, he occupied all 3 units with his family. He had a large family. And so in one unit, I know that his daughter lived there with her husband. So it was the entire family in all 3 units. It was not, one husband and wife on all 3 units.
And I mean, that's probably, fine with the affidavit, but I do think for the board to consider, we've had this issue before as well, which is, it's fine and dandy. I'll refer to my family who lived in a multifamily in Medford, it's one person representing themselves as the owner and the representative of the family member, when maybe a daughter and husband rented from them or someone else. So I don't know what we do to confirm, we just take the affidavit for what it is, but there may be people that can consider themselves tenants. But, I'm just saying this would be to me, it's, I don't think that I don't know how we communicate that, like, it would be good to hear from the other people that lived there as well, that they, waive their rights, or maybe they did already. I'm sorry.
If I could respond to that. I always include in the affidavits that there's a section that says that there's no rent paying tenants reside in the property during my ownership. The former owner signs that. So we make sure to put in there that there was absolutely no one in there that was paying rent to the former owner. It was all family members. And there was, no tenants. They're signing an affidavit. It's a sworn statement. There's certainly some weight to that affidavit.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That makes me feel better.
Of course.
Thank you for educating
Of course.
All right. Any other questions from the board? Seeing there is no further line of questioning for the representative, motion to close the floor for board discussion. Motion to open the floor for public commentary. If anyone in the virtual audience would like to speak in favor or against this preliminary non-rental conversion permits for units 1, 2, and 3 at 373 Medford Street, now would be the time to do so.
See no hands.
All right, motion to close the public commentary. In reviewing the application, as the attorney disclosed, no waiting period, all owner occupied. We have the certificate of good standing. At this time, we have a paid water bill that has a substantial credit on it. I'm willing to overlook the water bill being just shy of being, or just over the 30-day period. But with the credit, I think that's fine. We have a quitclaim deed, and we have a check in the amount of $1,800 for the 3 units they are looking to convert. This time we are still awaiting the master deed and engineer's report, so I'm comfortable making a motion for the board to vote on a preliminary non-rental conversion permits for units 1, 2, and 3, all located at 373 Medford Street, on the condition that the master deed and engineer's report is submitted to city staff at a future date.
Okay, this is a motion to vote for a preliminary non-rental conversion permit for unit number 1, number 2, and number 3 at 373 Medford Street, conditioned on the master deed and property condition report to be submitted at a future date. Chair Zasloff,
Yes.
Vice Chair Byrne,
Yes.
Board Member Simeon,
Yes.
Board Member Solis.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you, board members. Enjoy the holidays.
You too. Thank you very much. All right, this brings us to our last application on this evening's agenda, and that is the application of Fan Wang and Mark Wagner, who are seeking a preliminary rental conversion permit for units 1A, Unit 1B, Unit 2, Unit 3, all located at 333 Highland Avenue.
Hello,
Hello.
this is Fan Wang, the applicant. I'm here. Just want to let you.
Yes. Good evening.
Shall I begin or? Okay.
Yes. If you're the representative, if you can please give us color on the current status of the application, any outstanding items.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman and the members of the CRP board. My name is Fan Wang. I'm the applicant for the condo conversion at 333 Highland Avenue. I will begin as requested by the board, that I'll be briefly covering the background, and then I will address the specific follow-up items that the board requested at the last hearing. First of all, the property was purchased by us on June 26, 2025. It was sold by the prior owner as a vacant 4-family property, and all units were already vacant at the time of closing. And all former tenants vacated by June 1st, and before our ownership began. We did not terminate any tenancies, issue any notices to quit, or require any tenant to leave. Because the building was vacant when we acquired it, this application proceeds under the vacant property provision of the condo conversion ordinance. Our application includes all required materials for vacant unit conversion, including certificate of good standing, final water bill, the former tenant information affidavit, notice documentation, and the written supplemental response submitted prior to this hearing, addressing the board's follow-up questions from the last meeting. We also provided supporting exhibits referenced in that response. To address the board's specific questions, first, the board asked for documentation showing our efforts to obtain tenancy info and forwarding addresses from former tenants. We submitted the emails sent after our purchase, requesting tenancy dates and contact information for purpose of completing the former tenant information affidavit. Only tenants from Unit 1B responded with their forwarding address, and nobody else did. These emails were all part of the record and demonstrate reasonable diligence and good faith compliance. Second, the former tenants argued that a smoke detector inspection and the land survey show intent to convert before vacancy. The board asked for clarification and evidence. We submitted evidence clarifying that the smoke detector inspection was a standard fire safety inspection associated with the property sale and code compliance, not a condo conversion activity. And the land survey was conducted for general due diligence and property understanding, which is common in multifamily transactions and is not listed in the ordinance as an indicator of intent to convert. Importantly, the ordinance defines intent to convert using specific enumerated factors. There are no master deed, no condo marketing, no architectural engineering work done for conversion, no purchase and sale agreement for condo units, and no communications expressing such intent while tenants were in residence. None of those factors occurred before tenant vacancy, and no documentary evidence to the contrary has been submitted. Since the last hearing, the former tenants have not provided additional comments, documents, or rebuttal evidence for this hearing. The record is therefore complete. In closing, the board's role in this case is to determine whether the ordinance and board rules have been complied with based on evidence. The contested facts show that this was a lawful vacant purchase, and the intent to convert arose only after ownership, and that the application now before you complies with the requirements for vacant properties. And also, I'd like to note, previously I submitted a written due process objection and a request regarding disclosure and speaking time. Given that the tenant comments in the August meeting were not disclosed in advance to me, and those evidences were presented sequentially during the hearing in August. I just want to confirm that today the applicant will have a meaningful and roughly equal opportunity to respond to any tenant comments before the board deliberates. With that, I'd like to close that I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Great. On that note, motion to open the floor for board discussion. Questions for the applicant?
Jennifer, if there's a piece, oh, sorry.
Yeah, so I see the memo, but could you sorry, like the supplemental evidence of the inspection just being a yeah, just want to look at this.
I could point out where the exhibit is relevant to this board members.
Yeah, I would love to just see the what states that the land survey and the fire inspection were not related to.
Sure. I think for the fire inspection, I believe because as an applicant, we actually wasn't aware when it was done and how it was done. And the tenant provided evidence. I think they had some email communication from the realtor. And the email, I guess, showed around May 9th to May 19th. And there was some mandatory fire smoke detector or CO detector inspection. I think it looks like also there was some additional detectors being installed just to prepare for the inspections. And I provided an email. Actually, I wrote to the Somerville's fire department, whoever in charge of this process of this detector inspection. They clarified for any house sale, all those smoke detector CO detector inspection is required. It's mandatory. And as applicant, we have no knowledge of when it was done, how it was done, why it was done. But I got the email confirmation from Mr. Francis Alting, who is the fire prevention lieutenant at the city of Somerville, and it's in the exhibit A of my response document.
Yes, thank you. So I do see that. I guess what I was hoping, whether you or someone else from the city would have been able to clarify, would be not a description of what type of inspection is required, but what actually happened on those dates, May 9th to 19th. So this is basically saying it's completely normal to do this type of, inspection. Here's our instructions. This is what happens. But what I was looking for at the end of that meeting was, and I'm not saying it's you personally that would have that, but I was hoping someone would be able to secure, if it was someone from the city, from our legal department, or if it was the tenants or someone, what did take place in May? Was it just this type of inspection that we all can see from this email is normal and or was it something else? Because that's what the tenants were saying, is that it wasn't just, a smoke detector, it was something related to conversion. So while I think this is helpful, because I was asking at that meeting, like, what normally happens, what types of inspections normally happen, because we don't really have that information. This is helpful to clarify that, and it can lead me to believe that in May what happened could be this. But I was also hoping that there was someone from, I don't know, the city, the fire department, the former seller, to say this is what took place on the dates where the tenants are saying that something happened that set up intent. Can you, as far as the land surveying evidence, that was just normal, is that also just a description of what happens, or is that the people saying this is what we did when we came?
I just I guess okay, now I can speak. For the just to add to the fire detector inspection, I guess the former tenant claimed that that there was something being done. They are suspicious of intent. I'm totally unaware of what other inspections were done in terms of fire prevention. So burden of proof is on them. And up to now, after 3-4 months of the August hearing, there's no additional evidence being presented by the tenants. So I guess that chapter is rather closed. And also, I think the staff of the board also has not provided any additional evidence that those inspections was ordered by us or was improperly done. I'm just afraid that this country's legal system works as the burden of proof is on the people who allege others of any offense. Whoever make a complaint, they need to provide those evidence. I'm afraid that as applicant, it's out of our power for things that we didn't do and we have nothing to do with. So that's about the fire prevention detectors. And in terms of the land survey, I think I also looked up the record. And because at that time I was actually pregnant with my first baby. So that time I wasn't so much involved. I definitely reached out to a land surveyor to conduct a survey, but the land surveyor actually went there himself. I also wasn't quite sure which day that he actually went. I think because it's also done outside of the building, the realtor might have informed the former tenants about it. I believe that was done in early May, but exactly which date I wasn't sure. And to provide evidence that why we care about this land survey, and it wasn't done for the purpose of condo conversion. It is. I also showed in exhibit, because we run into similar issues that there were property listings, usually the realtor just pull out the city's property tax record, saying, hey, this is the size of the lot, this is the house living space square footage. But a lot of times there could be substantial exaggeration of what was being offered for sale. So out of prudence, we ordered this land survey. And also I showed one email communication with the city of Somerville's tax assessing department because we had clear evidence of one recent property also in pretty close proximity to the subject property. The land, the lot area was exaggerated by more than 2,000 square feet. Was because of perhaps maybe many decades ago, there was some private alley. It was a part of the land as we suspect, and it was continued in the city's property record. So if you look at the property record, that property had 6,000 square feet of land. That's how the realtor listed. When we went there and measured roughly the length and the width of the lot, which is totally out of common sense. I provided a communication to the city of Somerville. Unfortunately, the assessor said that for this type of questions, people need to show a land survey in order for them to make any adjustment. So that's why it's just one of the anecdotal evidence I have why we have to do land survey, so we know what we actually are buying.
Okay, thank you. Board member Solis, other board members, any other line of questioning for the representative tonight? Okay. Seeing no further questioning, motion to close the floor for board discussion, motion to open the floor for public commentary. If anyone in the virtual audience would like to speak in favor or against the preliminary rental conversion permit, the applicant is seeking for Unit 1A, Unit 1B, Unit 2, Unit 3, all located at 333 Highland Ave.
If anyone in the audience would like to speak, please raise your hands. I see no hands.
All right. Motion to close the public commentary period. Just for the record, I'd like to state for the record, I was not present at the August meeting when this was first reviewed and then tabled, and we are here again reviewing this application. I have read all the paperwork and credentials that have been submitted within the file, so I feel confident that I can participate in the vote. On that note, I will now make a motion for the board to vote on the preliminary rental conversion permits for units 1A, Unit 1B, Unit 2, Unit 3, located at 333 Highland Avenue, on the condition that the master deed and engineer architect report is submitted to the city staff at a future date.
I would like to request to pause for a moment and allow me to make a comment, not to the applicant, but to my fellow board members before the vote.
Sure. So
Sorry.
I need to open the floor back up. So we will not be making a vote right now. We will revert and and I will make a motion to open the floor for board discussion so the board member Solis can make a statement.
Thank you. So this is frustrating for me, and I will just say that tonight has been frustrating in general. So to work within the provisions of, or the purview of, the condo conversion, I only can act on what information is presented to me. So I emailed Morena after this awful meeting we had where we had tenants, which we very rarely do, multiple tenants, heartfelt responses, like people, almost in tears, all this stuff saying that they thought intent was set. And so I sent a short list of what I thought we asked Miss Wang to get, but I also sent it to, I believe at the time it was Morena, saying like, this is what I need to make a decision. So I just don't feel like I have that. So Miss Wang has, done a great job, and I commend her on like following up and getting some information. But it's very rare that tenants come. So when tenants do come and they say on these dates, someone came and did stuff and they were talking about construction and they were blah, 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 and I think intent was set, like the only way I wasn't there. So the only way I can know is if that construction team or person or someone like not the applicant whose best interest it is to not have intent set that day tells me what happened. So, do I know that, are the descriptions of what normally happens in a fire inspection and what normally happens with a land survey and like why you would want to do a land survey, like that all makes great sense to me. But it also makes sense to me that someone like Miss Wang, who has done condo conversions before, may also send someone in to say like, is it viable to turn these into condos? So I was very clear with Ben, Joe, Morena. I need this information. And I don't feel like I have it. And now I feel like a jerk because Miss Wang's just trying to like, do what we all want to do, which is like buy a house, make some money, invest, secure our future, whatever. And I look like this annoying person that's like, you don't have this and you don't have this. Like I'm trying to save the world. And I'm not. But like, how am I supposed to make these decisions? I don't know. Do I think intent was set? Like, I mean, probably. I don't know. But I don't know how to, and like there's all this legal talk. It's like, we're not in like a criminal court. It's not like, the burden of proof. Like, I mean, it's gray. This is like a gray world we're in. So I'm frustrated. And I just don't know if I can do this anymore. End of story. This is like, I mean, people are just building condos everywhere, and we've got this one ordinance that everyone says is like the best in the state and the best in the world, and it's not helping me to make decisions at meetings. It's the same thing's happening. Poor people and Black people and brown people are getting screwed. Young people are getting screwed, and I'm sick of it. So I don't know that Miss Wang, is doing anything bad, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do to get the right information from people. Like I made Mark Sheehan feel bad. I'm just like yelling and being crazy, but I don't know what we're doing. I don't.
Sorry, could I briefly interject? I apologize because I'm having trouble finding my raise the hand button as the host. But just if I could through the chair,
Where's yours?
I did pop onto Citizen Serve, and I was able to locate the specific fire safety inspection that was performed for this property. And so there's I'm not able to see any kind of checklist, but I'm able to see essentially a summary sheet that or a summary page that shows what the inspector was looking at when they went in and did that inspection. And so I'll just quickly read, I can share that information, which hopefully will assist in the board in its deliberation. So let's see. The issuance date is May 19th. So I believe the inspection was performed on May 19th. They were looking at 4 units. Well, it looks like it has on here for some reason, but I believe there's 3 units in the property. Okay. The questions that
There's 4.
There's 4. Okay, thank you. You're right. Right. There's 1A and 1B. 4 units on the property. They were looking at whether the property had sprinklers, whether there was a fire alarm monitoring company. And then there's a signature section that says occupancies that are required to have fire alarm and sprinkler tests are required to provide The Somerville Fire Prevention Bureau with current inspection documentation within full compliance no later than the date of the scheduled inspection. Sprinkler systems are required to be monitored. There are 3 selections under that section. One selection says all detectors must be mounted on the ceiling per requirement of Somerville Fire Department. It says combination smoke/carbon monoxide detectors must be speaking type. And it says all detectors and devices tied into fire alarm control panels must be OSHA, nationally recognized testing laboratory listed and labeled. And then goes on to provide some examples and say anything that does not meet the OSHA standards will not be accepted and must be replaced in order to pass inspection. So it seems like, from what I can tell, the inspection was focused on suppression systems and smoke and carbon monoxide detectors.
Thank you. And that lines up with her description of what is like a normal residential inspection. It's, right? Is that maybe
I think it lines up with what the fire prevention
fire
city
prevention,
staff
right.
shared with the applicant.
Okay, thank you. That is extremely, extremely helpful. I appreciate it.
Okay. Board Member Solis, any further comments? Okay. Vice Chair Byrne, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I think one of the things that Board Member Solis, I totally agree with frustration and the anxiety of all this. But I think one of the things that is just sort of a simple thing here is that Ms. Wang could provide the tenants with fees and just do it instead of it, going on. It's this question that's sort of like, oh, did this happen or did this happen? Does this and that? I mean, you can just pay the tenants fees and have it your way. You get your. I mean, it's not that hard.
It's
It's
actually,
not that hard.
the amount of time and effort that these developers go into to try to present no intent, they probably spend more than 10K
Yeah,
in time, effort, legal fees, whatever they're paying their attorneys to come up here and, represent or misrepresent whatever side you feel like it falls on. I mean, honestly, like pay the relocation fees and like
do it.
move on and get the permit and convert the condo. Like that's really the takeaway. It's almost like it's cat and
Yeah.
mouse game going on. And it's like time is money, money's time. You know, Miss Wang, I'm sure your time is more valuable spent than spending 2 hours on here, fighting with this board on whether you had intent or not. Like, and I'm not, siding one way or the other. I'm just like, again, this is just like a blanket statement for all the folks that are coming in front of this board. Like, it's the same suspects, month over month. It's like, guys, you're making money hand over fist. Do the right thing, pay the money to relocate people, do the right thing. And guess what? We'll sing your graces when you come in front of this board. Great point, Vice Chair Byrne. Maybe we should end on that one. So on that note, motion to close the floor for board discussion. And again, at this time, I will make a motion for the board to vote on a preliminary conversion permit for units 1A, Unit 1B, Unit 2, Unit 3, all located at 335 Highland Avenue, on the condition that the master deed and engineer's report is submitted to the city staff at a future date.
Okay, this is a motion to vote on a preliminary rental conversion permit for units number 1A, 1B, 2, and 3 at 333 Highland Avenue. conditioned on the master deed and property condition report to be submitted at a later date. Chair Zasloff,
Yes.
Vice Chair Byrne,
Don't feel like I can vote for this. I just don't feel like I can.
so
could I just ask, I think Vice Chair Byrne, I think can you please just make a vote of yes, no, abstain, just so
I'll
you can be.
abstain.
okay. Board Member Simeon,
Well, no.
okay. Board Member Solis,
Abstain.
thank you. I don't believe we have majority to go.
So
So Attorney Teal, now we have to deliberate until we can either get a yes or no vote, correct?
yeah, so I think the board should take some action tonight. There may be another motion that could be made. This motion did not pass. So there is the option to, make another motion that may have the support of the majority members of the board, or you could deliberate further, take a further vote on the same the same matter. You also have the opportunity to deny the permit as well. If you're going to deny the permit, I would always advise you, establish what is the factual basis for the denial. But I think you are at a spot where the board should take some action, whether it be further deliberate or take another vote.
Okay. All right. On that note, motion to open the floor for board discussion. To the folks who voted no, I mean,
Well,
what's the outcome, or I mean, how do you foresee this playing out this evening?
okay, this is what I understand is like as we ask Mrs. Run to at least see if she can pay that allocation. That's for me, that's only one way I can support, and then I can have that one goes. Then we have to, make sure we satisfy that one at least.
Okay. Fellow board, any other point of view from the board?
Yeah, I also would like to see Ms. Wang make some movement towards the tenants. I think the fact that she's arguing why she doesn't have to do anything, is really frustrating. And it would be a simple measure for her to just say, yes, I will do something for tenants. I will do what needs to be done.
Okay. Any other board members? Board member Solis?
I mean, I would also like that to happen, but I don't think we can force people to do that. So, I'm happy to change my vote with the tools that I have in front of me. I can't do what I would like to do, so I will do what I have the tools to do. So,
okay. Miss Wang, are you still here?
Yes, I am.
Would you make any consideration to making a monetary payment to the former tenants?
Honestly, I do not see any legal basis for this. And honestly, I'm a homeowner, and I'm a mom of just a newborn baby, and I'm just so stressed out about all those going on with the former tenants. And honestly, I think they are accusing us of being developers. That's totally untrue. We own rental property as well. And we did a condo conversion for our former homes when we sold them. So those are things, the investment we made at Somerville and the 2 condos we sold, it happened over a 7-8 year period. So it's totally exaggerating. And in terms of my baby need money to buy milk. I cannot afford a lawyer. That's why I'm standing in front of the board myself today. I just don't want to be pictured as, oh, you're a greedy landlord and developers and try to make money out of the poor tenants. I had no knowledge that they lived there that long. And it's just a totally very, very, very upsetting for me to hear all those accusations. So unfortunately, I cannot afford to pay the relocation, and it's still, I guess, if nobody invests in Somerville, nobody actually owns those homes. There's no place for the tenants to live. I think that could be the dire situation what the city is getting itself into if you overextend the jurisdiction and overextend the authority of this board to actually create an extraordinary burden on property owners and on homeowners.
Okay, thank you for that testimony. All right, to the fellow board members, how would you like to proceed?
Am I allowed to ask if one of the 4 units will be made affordable?
We actually do not know.
Is it not required for 4 units or more to have an affordable unit?
I have no knowledge of that. But based on what I know, I don't think that's required in Somerville.
It is.
And I'm not sure if that's ever required in Massachusetts.
If I could, Jennifer, what you might be referring to is inclusionary zoning, which would be if units were being added on a property, then there are circumstances where having 4 more units would trigger requirements for an affordable unit. In this instance, I don't believe there are units being added. Also, there's a new MBTA law that does potentially allow upwards of 4 units on properties in residential districts that will not trigger inclusionary requirements. They'll be allowed to do that as of right. So I don't think that this is.
Ben is correct. It would be, if this was a 3-unit building, she was adding an additional 4th unit, that 4th unit would have to be affordable. Current 4-unit situation, it's not a requirement.
Thank you.
So as a board, again, we have to come to some decision tonight. You know, if we deny the permit, then we have to have, grounds as to why, because the city's going to end up in a legal situation. So if any board members have an idea on how to word that vote or the evidence we will cite for the record, I'm open to hearing about it.
I would love, and I don't know how to frame this. Chairs that left. If we is there any way, maybe it's not even legal, if we could request some kind of um, meeting between the owner and the tenants where they could come to an agreement together that feel like some has been made on the of the owner. It just feels to me like tonight, like the owner has just taken the position that this is where I'm at, this is what I can do, I'm not doing anything else. And I would love to see there be more um, room in this. There's something else to happen. And I feel like we're just up against a brick wall. So I don't have a good handle on what to say.
Attorney Theo, looking for some guidance here, if possible.
Yeah, so I think legally what the board could do is that if it felt that additional information was necessary to continue to make a determination on the case, it could continue the hearings. I think in the past the board has made suggestions on the types of activities and actions they'd like to see to help that decision. So I think that you basically legally the vote you would be taking would be to continue the hearing, maybe give some illustrative examples of what you're looking for to kind of bring this to a resolution, and then it would come back before the board. But as far as, I think I would say mandating some type of meeting, mandating an outcome of that meeting, you're prescribed to what is allowed under the ordinance. So the ordinance doesn't, I think if contemplate that type of situation. I think it does contemplate if the board was to find intent was formed. I think the staff report lays out what if there's evidence of intent, the board might have an option to condition. But I think kind of that's those types of intermediate, like speaking with former tenants, trying to reach a resolution, are recommendations of the board rather than something that can be formally mandated.
Yeah, thank you for that guidance. To the fellow board members, listen, I want to, be heroic in all our votes too, and wish we had a magic wand and could, enact all kinds of means to keep people on track. Unfortunately, from my point of view, we have a limited toolkit to work from, and we have to rely on those tools to make our decisions.
I mean, I think we should just try to, revote. I would like to vote differently myself than I did last round. So maybe someone else is looking to do that as well.
We can put it up to vote and see how the chips fall. I mean, we can.
I mean, the thing is, I'm upset for a lot of reasons, but, I don't, but
I am too, and I think
with the tools we have, I mean, what am I going to do? For the tenants didn't show up tonight. I can't, Ben, thank you for finding that fire information. Like, that's exactly the type of thing I was looking for. So, do I think intent was formed? Like, yeah, I do. I think you knew you were buying it to convert, and sob story aside. But I think based on I can't prove based on what the ordinance says and what we have that intent was formed. So I have to vote yes, because that's my duty to the city, is to follow the ordinance. And that's what I said I would do. So I'm mad and sad. And I hate that this is happening all across our city, but I cannot go to sleep feeling good about voting no, because I cannot show that Miss Wang did anything to form intent. So I am asking the rest of my board members to do the same.
And I feel the same as you do with that statement. So, I mean, unfortunately, these are the tough ones that we face, and we can all have our opinions on on what we believe, whether there was intent or not. I tend to agree with you, but the burden of proof is on us to be able to prove that. And unfortunately, sometimes people skirt by. So, all right. Motion to vote on a preliminary rental conversion permit for Unit 1A, Unit 1B, Unit 2, Unit 3, all located at 333 Highland Ave, on the condition that the master deed and engineer's report submitted to city staff at a future date.
All right, this is a vote to approve a preliminary rental permit for units number 1A, 1B, 2, and 3 at 333 Highland Ave, conditioned on the master deed and property condition report to be submitted at a future date. Chair Zasloff.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Chair Zasloff.
Yes.
Vice Chair Byrne.
I'm going to abstain. I'm sorry. Sorry, I just can't do this.
Board Member Simeon.
No.
Board Member Solis.
Yes.
The motion passes. I'm sorry, is that
So
The
you
motion did not pass.
we need a majority?
you need a
Sorry, the motion
majority
does
of the
not
members
pass.
present. So unfortunately, as well, sorry, I didn't mean to editorialize. You have 4 members present,
Right.
2.5. You need three to carry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, the motion does not pass. I apologize.
So I think at this point, it's the will of the board. I think the same guidance, it's.
I mean, to the fellow board members, I mean, like we can sit here for however long we want to continue to do this. Again, this is a instance. I'm going to continue to vote yes because within the boundaries of this ordinance, we do not have a burden of proof to say otherwise. We had tenants who testified in August. For whatever reason, they're not here tonight, which is unfortunate. I can only go with what's in front of us and what we know.
Chair, is that possible to have, do we know exactly why they are not here today?
Well, they were notified that it's a choice,
Okay.
individual choice. Everyone was notified. Is that a correct statement, Ben?
Okay.
Yes, hearing notices went out on December 8th. I also shared the staff report with all of the former tenants, and I did receive some responses to my messages.
Oh, they respond. Yeah. Okay.
Anything you're allowed to share or no? Or it was just like, can't come or you can't share it anyways, probably.
I don't think there's anything sensitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I won't pull anything up on screen, but I think the responses were just acknowledgements.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to Chair Zaslav's point, there's a lot going on right now in the world of affordable housing, and not Chair Zaslav did not make this point, but there's a lot going on right now. Like even me saying like, oh, is the 4th unit affordable? And it's like, well, even if it was, this other law now is superseding that. So it's a little bit of like, the fight is just getting harder and harder. So I feel it and I'm upset about it. And this meeting's upset me, but I'm trying my best because I promised I would just stick to the ordinance. And I think if someone, was to say, why did you vote no? Or why did you abstain? I would be forced to say it's because I don't like developers or people who buy multiple multifamilies coming in and getting tenants out and making all this money. And that can't be a reason that we vote no. We have to find that someone has, done something illegal, found, that the ordinance covers, or formed intent. And I just, I just don't think we have it. And the only thing that we said, we had this big long meeting in August and all these things at the end. I was like, I want to see this. I want to see this. I want to see this. And, the three things were, can we find out what's normal at like a fire inspection or a land and survey thing? And Marina didn't get that to me, and that's aggravated me. So I'm aggravated and I'm sorry. But Ben was able to pull up the fire thing and check that off tonight. And Miss Wang was able to find out from the fire lieutenant safety guy what's normal. So the fire thing is off the table. The other thing that the tenant said was that the land survey was about more than just the lot size. In order to prove that the land survey was more about lot size, and it was really to figure out if condos could go there, like, we would have to have that exact surveyor here and say what he did. And I don't even know that he's legally required to do that. So how would we find that out? Do I wish that someone from the city, Morena, had like gotten back to me and said, like, we're not going to be able to find that out, or this is how we can find that out? Yeah, I do wish that. But also there's only 40 hours of work in a week, right? So, I don't see us getting to a point with that one. And those were really the only things that we charged Miss Wang with finding out at the end of the meeting. So I just can't see where we legally can hang our hat on a no vote here. And if we are going to vote no, and then it ends up in a lawsuit, I think that would be really unfortunate. And
But I think what I miss maybe is the fact those tenants has been invited and they are not tonight. If this is the case, I give up
and
because
that is, yeah.
they have that chance to come, and then they decide to not, show up.
And
If
I
this
think
is the
even if
case,
we're
let's
here,
see.
yeah, even if they were here, I don't know that they could say anything that they didn't say last time that would prove that intent was formed. The things they said last time were the things that we tried to follow up on. So, anyways, I'll stop.
Okay. Attorney Teal, I'd like to hear from you.
Sure. Just want to address some of the points, I think, and at the risk, hopefully not sounding defensive of city staff, but I think on the survey point, I know that is something that was brought up at the last meeting, and we talked a bit about at a staff level. And I think this is the challenge sometimes of these quasi administrative type hearings, is that the housing division in the city really isn't in a position to say, like, what is, let's call it, like, market on these types of situations, where I think, and I think we tried to share, and I think that's why the staff report didn't come back with the conclusive, and that's usually how we convey the information to the board on these supplemental tasks that have been assigned, is that, what is market, I think, is not something the housing division or the city can necessarily say in these circumstances. I think the board, and I can fully appreciate the difficult position the board is in, because the board has to kind of weigh the competing evidence and say, okay, you have one allegation from tenants saying, this is not, standard practice. They present that. The other side presents that evidence that says, that there are reasons outside of the purpose of condo conversions that you'd complete this type of survey. And I think really that's the board's role as fact finder. And I think, it is, I'm not dismissing that. I think it's easy for me to say, like, you're the ones actually like making those difficult calls, but I think it's really just kind of taking the information that's been presented to you and then applying that to a more probable than not standard and saying, we may never know exactly, but I don't think, like, I would also, if it's helpful for you all to think through, like, that's not what's also expected of you. It's more probable than not. you're supposed to impartially hear all of the facts, in your experience, and, I think as members of the community, hear those facts, weigh those facts, and make that application. So I think hopefully that kind of provides, but I think specifically on that survey point, that is I think it's a difficult one for the board because it's a contested fact. And I'm not sure, and apologies if we could have been better, maybe communicating that point to you. But I think really that's the end outcome, is that, I don't think we're going to get much further than that's a disputed fact within the context of this hearing.
And apologies from my end, because clearly I'm just heated tonight and being harder than necessary.
And I think, and I would say, like, if it's again helpful, if it's helpful for the board, I think the board asking questions of the applicant, of staff, that's how these kind of that underlying evidence of facts gets established. So I think, please, that's your role to ask those questions, have those follow-ups, but may never reach exactly the conclusion, the certainty that would make the decision a little bit easier.
Thank you, Attorney Teal. Vice Chair Byrne.
So the reason why I continue to say abstain is because I feel like this could have been easily changed with Miss Wang making a move towards the tenants. The fact that she's been so unwilling to make a move towards the tenants is what is really frustrating to me. And it could be so easy to have a sense of generosity and trying to bring this together, and instead what I feel like is that she's just dug in, said, nope, I'm not doing that, and too bad for everybody. And I don't want to do an outright no to this, because I feel like that she's just his property and has the right to do. But I just wish that there was some way to do a better service to the tenants. And I just find it very frustrating that we are up against this brick wall. Cannot get relief in any way, shape, or form tenants. And it could have been, Miss Wang, it could have been, you could have said, I'll give them all $1,000. I want to do something for the tenants. I don't, you could have done something like that. And, instead, here we are, and you are just resistant to making any move towards the tenants. And that's incredibly frustrating to me.
Joseph Asloff, if I may.
Yep.
And Vice Chair Byrne, I just want to say that before I say what I'm about to, that I don't want what I'm going to say, which is completely unrelated, to take away from what you've just said, because I think we all hear your frustrations. And the only thing that I wanted to say is, and this was in response to Board Member Solis's continued sort of concern and lack of clarity about the activities of the fire inspection and the land survey. I just wanted to give a little bit of background based on my experience in inclusionary when it comes to project tenure, whether developers maintain properties as rentals or they sell them off as condos. I just wanted to share that we often see that tenure, the decision of the developer, change at any point during the development process. I apologize, I think my headphones may have died if my voice is coming through differently. We will often see changes in tenure. The tenure, from my understanding, it often will depend on underwriting. It often depends on what's more financeable, whether it's going to be more profitable to maintain as rentals or to sell as condos. And so at that stage, that's a determination that's being made. But we often see projects that are anticipated to be either rentals or condos very close to their completion that are changing tenures. And so just in regards to whether there are certain measurements of plots that dictate whether a property can be utilized as condos. And again, the projects that I'm seeing are typically, though not always, new construction. So taking it, so acknowledging that, but also saying that that developers are typically able to shift the project tenure, and just insofar as maybe maybe that has any indication as to whether the land survey would have been specific to a condo, the forming of a condo or not. Hopefully that made sense, and I don't know if that's useful.
It is useful. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Great.
Okay, thanks, Ben. All right, I'm going to make a motion for the board to vote. We'll give this a shot one more time. So this is a motion to vote on a preliminary rental conversion permit for Unit 1A, Unit 1B, Unit 2, Unit 3, all located at 333 Highland Avenue on the condition that the master deed and engineer's report is submitted to the city staff at a future date.
Okay, this is a vote to approve a preliminary rental conversion permit for unit number 1A, number 1B, number 2, and number 3 at 333 Highland Avenue, conditioned on the master deed and property condition report to be submitted at a later date. Chair Zaslow.
Yes.
Vice Chair Byrne.
Against my better judgment, I will say yes.
Board Member Simeon.
Yes.
Board Member Solis.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay. Thank you. All right. On that note, that concludes the last meeting of 2025. Not the highlight I expected to end on, but it's the way the year went for us. A lot of challenges, a lot of curveballs this year. On that note, everyone have a happy holiday, happy new year, and I will now make a motion to adjourn the final meeting of the CRB for 2025.
I will second that, and we'll love the Haley's comment or whatever it is that's coming out behind your head, Chair. Yeah.
Hopefully the stars are brighter in 2026. That's a
Oh, God help us. I hope so.
All right, everyone. Have a great holiday.
Thanks.
Thanks for putting up.
See you all.
Have a nice holiday, everybody.
Okay.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well.
Needs to stay.